we got new news coming out from CDO Scrim Intel. Should be a lot of free agent news going on in this offseason. A lot of players are free agents. Let's get into it. OpTic Texas has targeted Envoy and Drazah from LA Thieves to play alongside Shotzzy and most likely Dashy. All right, so before we get into the Envoy and Drazah coming to OpTic Texas, I do want to say I think that obviously Shotzzy is a lock for this roster. I think Dashy is a lock if he wants to stay. So I think that's the interesting dynamic here. Obviously, Dashy has a long history with OpTic Texas. Um, he's gone through some drama this year. He's publicly stated multiple times, how hard it is to play for OpTic just because of the fan base that is, and kind of always having that target on your back when you don't do well. So I think 100% OpTic would like to keep Dashy. I think it just comes down to if Dashy wants to stay with OpTic. Kind of been this long relationship, been drawn out a few times. He's been dropped a couple times, been brought back. So I think this roster really depends on what Dashy wants to do. But most likely, if he wants to stay, they're going to resign him. Moving on to Ghosty. Obviously, if you pick up Envoy and Drazah and Dashy wants to stay, obviously Ghosty is being dropped or he'll play as a backup role. I don't think he would play as a sub. I think he would easily get picked up by a different team. He kind of proved himself this year to not only be a leader, but can also slay out with the best of them. And also kind of play that role on the map of guiding people. And I think he did a pretty good job at it for being his first year into the league. And also, he didn't even get to play the full year. So I think that's kind of the biggest question mark here is if Dashy wants to stay, obviously he will stay. And if Envoy and Drazah are picked up, Ghosty's obviously dropped. Moving on to the Envoy, I think this is a perfect pickup. Obviously, there's been Pred rumors. The OpTic's going to go after Pred, and Pred's going to be the guy that's going to come in, turn this team around. But as far as the way that Shotzzy plays and having that duo along with him, Hook was a guy that was going to get in front of people's face and kind of be that entry fragger. I just don't think he was that great at it. He found some success, on land and playing alongside Shotzzy. Shotzi's obviously a guy that's going to go anywhere on the map and just really be annoying. So, Hook was kind of that guy that was brought in to just kind of be in front of people, get in front of their faces. Envoy, type of sub player that's a little bit more reserved. I think Envoy's playstyle is very similar to Scump and how Scump played at the beginning of the season before he retired. So I do think that Envoy would be a great trade for Hook. I think Envoy's a very smart guy. He was obviously on OpTic when it was 5v5, and he kind of played a role that was similar to Formal. Like he's a leader. He's going to direct people on the map. When they go through film, we've seen a lot of videos. He's very vocal. He's a guy that just is going to be a leader, but also running a sub. So a little bit different dynamic than what this OpTic team was this previous year. So I do like the Envoy pickup if this does happen. As far as Drazah goes, Drazah, I think, is probably, a top 5 AR in this game. He's a grinder. He's streaming all the time. He's playing Pro 8s. He's very good at search and destroy. He did pretty well throughout all game modes. I think his KD overall was like a 1.01 for last season. So I do think that this team with these four would be a massive gain for them. I don't think their slaying power gets necessarily any better, so I don't think their ceiling is as high as it was when we saw them really slaying out like in the midway through the season. But I think the consistency with this team could really be there with Envoy, Shotzzy, Dashy, and Drazah. I think the Ghosty thing is probably like the biggest situation for me. I feel like for a guy that he didn't get a whole season to play. He played really well at Champs. I think he was definitely the most consistent player for them at Champs. And his role kind of limited him into what he could do. You know, he played that leader role, and to put that on a rookie, obviously you're gonna have your struggles and go through some things. And then obviously going back to OpTic overall, they keep making changes for a team that probably has the most amount of money in the Call of Duty scene, and a team that has the most amount of hype for them. Obviously, I think they've been very overrated. They've underperformed year over year, and they keep making these changes. So I think for them to move off of Ghosty after he had a pretty great year is kind of a shot in the dark. But if you're going to replace him with Drazah, I definitely don't think you get any worse. Um, and then we also have Jacob Hale came out, basically said the same thing. Free agency doesn't open until July 3rd. Everybody on the LA Thieves is a free agent after July 3rd, so everyone's going to be available. And obviously, this could be a situation where maybe OpTic Texas just had a conversation with them. You know, maybe they gave him a call. They had the team in a room and just talked to them, see what their thoughts were. Obviously, I don't think anybody is really going to turn down a contract from OpTic Texas. So, you know, get them on the phone, have them talk to Shotzzy and Dashy if they're staying, and kind of move forward from there. But all right. Like I said, there should be a lot of news coming out in this free agency, especially come July 3rd. So we got a couple weeks, but there'd be some more leaks moving forward, and we'll see where it goes.